everybody. Hello.
Hi.
How is everybody? Oops. Yeah, go ahead and unmute. This is very casual. We're not doing a formal thing here, so
excited.
Yay. Yeah, this is fun. I think it's going to be fun to learn and see what other people are doing and share tips, because you know, the more you do, the more you learn like aha things that really is a lot of fun. So checking for Deborah. We had one other person who was going to join us to help, and but I think her email died. So
I can't quit making skyscapitos.
You can't quit.
I can't quit.
Well, look behind it, Bethan.
I know. Thank you, Bethan.
Either, Margaret. Margaret, do you have a favorite sky cloud formation to paint? Is there one particular type of cloud that you're loving at the moment?
Of course, sunsets are always fun, but we have fog most mornings, so I'm really good at gray. And and then after the fog burns off, we have bright blue all day long, no promise of rain. So I love the blue sky, but you know, would enjoy a little bit of rain with it.
Margaret, where are you from? Where are you?
I'm in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area.
Oh, I am too. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, why don't we put in the chat, put your location. It's always fun to see where everybody is. You know, Bethan is in Australia. She's on the East Coast. So it's,
how do I find the chat?
So it should be down at, if you're using a regular computer, it's down at the bottom.
iPad.
Okay. On the iPad, actually on the iPad, I'm on the iPad. Up at the top right, there's 3 dots and it says more. And you touch that, and then under more, there will be chat.
There it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. Okay, good. Chat.
No, so Bethan and I are going to be, we lost Deborah. I still don't see her here. So with so many folks, we're gonna do our best to make sure we see you. But if we missed you, just chime in. This is a very casual, like we're calling it the Skyscapito Appreciation Society, because I think we're all a bit bonkers for skyscapes and clouds and skies right now, and having a lot of fun. So let me spotlight me and Bethan for a moment, because that way we can both kind of chit chat about how we're going to do things. There we go. Great.
I
So
love that you came up with that name, Roseann. It was inspired. Perfect.
I made it back.
Oh, there you are. Yay. Let me make you co-host too, so you can, just in case we
drop off,
lose both me and Bethan. So I'm having a thunderstorm coming in right now, so we have really cool skies and stuff, but if something happens to my internet, that's why.
Oh shoot. Okay. Well, I guess that's technology, isn't it? So
yes. So this is Deborah, Bethan, I'm Roseann. So I think I recognize lots of names from the Wild Wonder Conference, from the Weather 101 I've done, and a lot of my tutorials and classes and things. So this just kind of happened. Deborah, I think, and Bethan and I were talking on a shared Facebook post, and it just kind of, hey, why don't we do this? Let's do a meeting, not a class, not a workshop. And then the idea is we'll share something we've done and walk you through, like, okay, this is how I did it, and these were the challenges I had, and these are the colors, and etc. And then we'll just go around, and I think if you want to share something, and I hope lots of you do, use the reactions down on a regular computer, it's down in the bottom. If you click reactions, use the raise hand, and then we'll be on gallery view. And then when we call on you, what we'll do is we'll spotlight you so that you take up the screen for people, and then you can share either with, I can set you so you can screen share, or just you can hold it up to your camera, or if you have a document camera. What else, Bethan and Deborah, what do you think?
Deb's fine. That sounds good to me. Yeah.
Deborah, are you ready, able to share that really interesting thing you shared with us about
the book?
The Namer of Clouds.
Yes, I would be happy to. All of us came to this to be interested in clouds from different ways. And I've always been interested in science, anything science, since I was a child. And so about, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, I got this book, and it's called The Invention of Clouds, How an Amateur Meteorologist Forged the Language of the Skies. And this is how we got 5 of our cloud names, major cloud names, and then others have been combined. He came up with 7 originally, and they had a big meeting. Oh, let me tell you first. He was born in 1772. That's 1772. He was really interested in the clouds as a child, and when he was 10, he began a journal about them. And so the book actually has pictures from his journal, and so it's interesting from the journal aspect of it, and or journaling aspect of it. In any regard, I also am or was involved in early childhood education, and I always provided materials for for the children. And good, look at this. Here's a book about him. His name is Luke Howard, so you might be interested in learning more about him. Yeah. So that's.
I went out immediately and ordered a hard copy of it. You can find them all over, really inexpensively, like $8 from the used books. And you're right. What was this really neat is his very, very skilled at drawing skies with pen and ink. And I really want to study his techniques, just, that's the other, maybe we should do a session in the future on skies in ink or skies in pencil.
That sounds kind of intimidating, right? I haven't done that before. I've done lots and lots of skies in watercolor, but skies in pen, that's going to be a super fun challenge, I reckon.
I think so. And I think it would be really good for learning your values. And that will help in your color as well, because once you, like, I was studying my own little skyscapitos to figure out how I would talk about it. And I realized, I had to sit and stare and understand the values first of what was going to be the lightest all the way up to the darkest, and then decide, what do I do first? What do I do? And all that. So nice. Danny says, I have done a few wood engravings with skies. Wow.
Oh, that would be wonderful to see.
Do you have any? I hope you can share that, because that's thinking totally in negative, right? So you have to think opposite.
Yeah, you think opposite. And I'll dig some up. I haven't done it in several years, but it's very much like pen and ink. And it's kind of like, once you put that line there, it's there. But it's very fun. There's a lot of good examples in the wood engraving of cloud, because that era, I guess, did a lot of skyscapes. So.
Yes, nice.
So I can dig up some examples for sure.
That would be really fun.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Oh, hey, that's really cool. I recognized your hat. I'm in the Explorers Club as well.
Neat.
Hello, comrade.
Yes, we need more artists in the EC, the Explorers Club.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get we'll talk about that because I'm trying to get a side group going. So
Cool.
Okay, so we digress.
Just one more comment. He was a chemist by trade. And so this was just always his avocation. And so he was a citizen scientist. And so I just wanted to put that out there for all of us, that citizen scientists can be pretty important.
That's right. And they can change the world, right? Because we are still using the nomenclature today, and he's the one who established the binomial system, just like genus and species, with the cumulus and stratus and cirrus, and and then the adding alto, and I love it. So yes, citizen science can change the world. So what should we do? Bethan, do you want to start by sharing one of your skyscapitos?
Yeah,
or do you want to talk about your giant 100 skyscapitos?
Okay, let me start with this because we were talking about paper, and this big one here I started a really long time ago, and I had this big plan. I was going to do 100 skies, and I was going to do them, in fact, from the same view. I have this beautiful view at the end of my street, and if I go out onto the street and look towards the horizon, I can see this beautiful sky area, and that's my plan, was to put 100 skies from this place at the same time of day, which is like around 3 p.m. And I started, this is where I started. I was really like excited to start. In fact, even just like marking out 100 skies on a big piece of paper is actually an investment in time. And so I was ready, I was pumped, and I started, but this was before I knew anything about paper, watercolor paper. So I just went to the art store, and I just got a big sheet of watercolor paper, and I was being thrifty, so I just got the cheap paper. And so when I started this big project of mine, I realized that this paper is really thirsty. And by that, it means that when I lay down a wash, it doesn't sit on the surface of the paper. It just drinks it. And so when your paper is really thirsty, you can't manipulate it. So my paper was just drinking the paint, and I couldn't change the washes. And I don't know if you know this, but I kept on thinking about this thing that I learned in economics class, and it's called the sunk cost effect. And when you've invested so much time in like drawing up this 100 things and all this energy, and I was like, I'm gonna do it. And I just was going, and the more I did it, the more I like went into the sunk cost effect. I'm like, I'm gonna do it. I put so much time into it. And I got to 80. You can see I've done 80 skies here. And it was so frustrating because of the paper. So that's just a lesson for myself to learn a bit more about watercolor paper, to disregard the sunk cost effect when you're not enjoying something, because this should be fun, and I was grinding through it, and it should be fun. So I actually am glad I did that, because it looks kind of pretty. But yeah, paper makes a difference. And I wanted to talk about paper because I don't want people to think, oh, I need like a fancy watercolor journal to do skyscapes. I really think that it's important that we look at the sky and we enjoy it, and we put the sky down whenever we can. But with that in mind, like, what is the paper that's actually in my journal that I use regularly, and what can it do? Because you don't want to go ahead and like try all these washy watercolor techniques if your paper is really thin, because you're just going to get frustrated. And so I think it's important to take just to be cognizant of what our paper is capable of, and choosing media and techniques that go with the paper that's already in our regular journal that we love to use. So maybe it is going to more dry media and learning how to do pencil techniques. We don't have to do watercolor. We can still enjoy the sky and skyscapitos with dry media if that's the paper that's in your regular nature journal. But paper does make a difference about how your media comes across. So yeah, it's just being aware of what paper you have in your regular journal and how to work with that instead of trying things that are working against it, as I learned with this one.
That's such a great story.
Yeah, I'd love to share my screen with you and show you a couple of things that I, there's my fancy tissue box stand for my my document camera. So this, I'm going to get rid of the chat here. This is from my view that I was telling you about at the end of my street. And these are some that I just did, little ones on,
Nice.
what do you call these? Postcards.
Oh, the
I just love,
yeah,
I love the idea of sending skies to people. And if you were at my class at Wild Wonder, you would have seen that I did like a little thing to send a week of skies. So very, very tiny, 7 skies on a postcard. This one's just 1 sky on a postcard, but I plan to send it to someone. And I just think it's like sending a piece of your home to someone else on a postcard. And I just love that. So this is one that I did recently from this photograph from the end of my street. And I wanted to talk about this technique. It's very, very easy and fun. And so what I did with this, if you have clouds that are darker than your background, which I do have here, it's really easy to first lay in a wash, which I did, this graded wash with 2 colors. And here, I wrote this out for you because these are some of my favorite mixes for skyscapes. So to make this purple sky color in the background, I used magenta and cyan with a bit of quin gold. And you can see that we're using all the true primaries, you're going to get a muted purple. This isn't a very, very bright purple, but so if you mix these 2 together, magenta and cyan, you're going to get really, really crystal clear purple, but it's not exactly right for this. So I added the 3rd of the primaries and it makes this lovely muted purple. And then I just did a graded wash down, and this is quin gold graded wash up to make these 2 colors. And then I just made like a shadowy purple color to go on top to add in the clouds. And it's really simple. It can be super fun. I really enjoyed doing this, and you can get some great techniques.
How long did that take you to do?
Oh, maybe 10 minutes.
And did you mask it with tape?
I did, yeah. So I used this washi tape, and with this one I did 2, and I did 3 cards, and I used the same tape for each one. So I just carefully pulled that off because I didn't want to be wasteful. And so I just then laid it on that one and laid it on that one. Yeah, so they don't take long and they can be really fun. I just wanted to show you a couple of others. This is from my garden as well. And this happened just after Wild Wonder. And it was just like this amazing, my mum calls these God clouds because they feel so, I don't know, powerful or something. I don't know. But with this one, I just did, and you can see that I've just taken a section of it. But I used masking fluid along the side, and I feel like these shadows are too warm. I didn't capture it perfectly, but it was fun. And with the masking fluid on the side, you can lay in your washes, and then you get this amazing reveal moment when you take the masking fluid off, and you get these beautiful whites. And there's one more I want to show you, just because I feel like there's some lessons here for me painting clouds. Hello, my boy. So this one I saw, it was a really, really amazing formation, and I'm not sure exactly what was happening here. And Buddy, do you want to sit? You can sit with me. There's lots of people here. Can you say hi? So I saw this amazing cloud, and it came down in this wonderful swirly pattern, and I feel like I couldn't capture it in this small format, and so I wanted to say that sometimes capturing details is a challenge. I don't want to. It's okay. Yeah, it can be a challenge to capture really small details. So this amazing swirly pattern that I saw was a challenge to capture in a very small format. So I'm going to pass it over to someone else while we have a little moment here. Let me see. Thank you. Thanks, Roseann. Awesome. Do you want to take it away for a minute?
Perfect. That's funny. Thank you, Bethan. I'll throw up one of mine, and then we'll start taking everybody else's. And Deborah, are you going to do one as well?
Yes.
Cool. Okay. I'll do similar. I'm going to take you off spotlight. Bethan?
She handled it perfectly, but it's so funny.
Okay. Right. So I'm sharing screen. Let's see. No, desktop. I have to remember how I do this. Hey, I'm totally out of practice from Wild Wonder, right? So
should be wiped out from Wild Wonder.
I was.
I bet you were. Wow.
Okay, so I'll talk about, come on, focus. Okay. These two here. And let me find I want to find the pictures of them. So just like Bethan did, there we go. So I'll talk about the top one first.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So this was like one of those, can you guys see both the original photo and the document camera now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. But it's really not wanting to focus. Let me. Come on. Okay. So what I did here, I just loved that dramatic sky. It was like completely blew me away, and it was also just one of the most challenging skies I ever tried to do. So the first thing I did was, like Bethan said, I masked it in my journal, and I used to try to do them with just drawing the rectangle. And I found that because the washes need to be laid pretty fast in some cases and a lot going on, I was spending so much time like staying within the lines that I would slow down and it would dry out, and then it would look really bad. And even here you can see I used French ultramarine in this sky because I wanted a lot of that beautiful deep blue, but it's also pretty granular. See how grainy it is. Let's see if I can get it even closer. And then so what I did on this one, unlike Bethan, I don't use masking fluid. This was pretty quick. I used waxed paper that I just laid down over it, and then I scribed in where I wanted to save all the white, and that saved that edge there. And then using my pencil, I just kind of quickly told myself where I wanted all the bits, and then I laid in the first blue washes. And while it was still damp here, I made sure that I drew this edge out so I didn't get a hard edge. I made this nice and we pulled the color into the white, but this I wanted the crisp hard white edge, so that's what the wax allowed me to do. Then I let that dry. I worked on the landscape while this dried, and then I came back and using French ultramarine and here's like Bethan, I created kind of a little chart to show what the different blues and grays. So using burnt sienna and French ultramarine, I made my darks. That way, using the same blue to create the grays is you get a more harmonious, as I think, colors in your skyscapitos. So that's what I did to make the darks. And then I laid them down last and then feathered them to make sure they didn't have where I didn't want hard edges, although I did want hard edges down here. Just in contrast, you can see the color contrast here. Let me pull this. This was like a super dramatic sky. I need to find the image over here. I've got tons of skyscapes open on my on my computer. There we go. So look at that, like totally dramatic. It was like super dark storm coming in, and then the sun up above was still illuminating the tops of the really low clouds. And I used indigo to create the gray on here. So it's a much like stormier color. It's warm and it really created this. It could have been even darker. That was the one thing that I wanted, is I kept adding color and it just wouldn't get dark enough. So I was afraid to kill it. But I think it would have been a little poppier if I had made it darker. And then I used, again, my wax resist around to make sure I got bright. So those are mine. And these are the blue colors I've been enjoying using. Manganese blue, cobalt, French ultramarine, phthalo blue, and the indigo is fun because you can use it like pure indigo and create like night skies or something too. So not just clouds. So, and then this is what they look like with different versions of burnt sienna and gray. So I'm going to stop share though. And let's see, Deborah. Let's just like hand off here. So Deborah, let me spotlight you. Actually, should we take questions, Bethan? Were there questions about yours?
Before I'm so sorry about that little kid musical accompaniment.
That was
I was very distracted. Roseann, I just wanted to say that I love what you said about different techniques for hard versus soft edges, because all cloudscapes are going to have these areas of softness and hardness, and you really have to be mindful of different techniques for these different areas of the one painting, and you did that beautifully. And that one, I'm so impressed that you even started to tackle that that one with all the the sun coming through on all the outside edges and the dark stormy sky. That's a complicated one. You did
I wanted to push myself, I wanted to do something really hard, and that really helped. So someone just said, has anyone tried white crayon as a resist? Yes, I have done that as well. I think this is white crayon on some of the whites. It gets a little funky though, because it leaves little turds on your paper. And they'll show up in places you're like, oh no, and there's nothing you can do. They're kind of there. So
this random little pencil that I showed in my workshop for Wild Wonder is so cool, and I can't remember
what is
how
that?
it came in. I can't remember how it came into my possession, but on it says Staedtler Lumicolor Permanent, and it's waxy and it's white. This is what they do on YouTube when they're doing makeup tutorials. They put their hand across.
It has a focus down. Okay.
Yeah, I can't. I'm going to write it down. But I find it really great because it's pointy, and so with a wax crayon it can be kind of clumpy and you can't really get
Exactly.
detail.
That's the other thing, is wax crayons don't stay sharp for very long, and yeah, clunky is a good word. Anyone use a colorless blender? Just speak up. This is totally open. I'm going to go gallery view. If anyone knows the answer, would a colorless blender work? I haven't tried that.
Oh,
Anyone try it?
No, but I have one. So
So somebody
I
should.
can-
I tried it, yeah.
Does it
It
work?
doesn't work very well. I have a Prisma Color Premier colorless
Mm-hmm.
blender. Again, we'll do the back thing. It doesn't work great, but I guess in a pinch it probably could.
Well, there are also blenders that are like pencils, not markers. I wouldn't expect the marker type to work because I don't know why it would make it resist. It's solvent based, but
Right.
I would think that one of the blending pencils should work. And I have a couple. I will try them and report back.
Yes, that would be great. That would be great. Any
I
questions
tried-
for Bethan? Since she had to have a kid moment. Any questions for Bethan's stuff before we move on to Deborah?
I was going to ask Bethan, well, what was the dark paint that you used for the dark sections? Did you use a Payne's gray, or did you mix sienna with the blue?
Yeah,
all of
so
the above.
that's a good question. And maybe do we have time to share my screen again? I had
Sure.
Yeah, is that okay? I'll just show.
Yeah. Let me go back to a different view here so we can capture you. Oops, I have to.
And actually, I'm asking the same question of Roseann.
Yeah, darks are a really important part of skies, and I wanted to show you. So the really wonderful mix is ultramarine and burnt sienna. It just makes this really quick shadow color. But the thing I love about it is that if you use a lot of ultramarine and a little bit of burnt sienna, you're going to get a cool shadow. And if you use a little bit of ultramarine and a lot of burnt sienna, you're going to get a warm shadow. And I love this versatility of just these, because if I know that Roseann loves minimalist paint palettes, and so with just these two colors, you can get such a range of shadow colors, and that's what I use in all my shadows. With this one, wow. I'm not sure if you were asking about this one, but with this one I did this purple. So I mixed a purple and I muted it down with the third color. And it gives you this muted color. And for these darker areas, I also use indigo. Indigo is just a great one to throw in for the stormy skies and really shadowy areas. So these are my favorites. I've got this little paint palette too, just for skies. So my favorites, we've got a lot of overlap, Roseann. I've got manganese blue hue. This is such a great one for making really clear washes because it doesn't granulate. So cerulean, I think, is the best. If you just want one color that's going to cover you for skies, it's not perfect, but I think the closest is cerulean. Okay. But manganese blue hue makes really clear washes, but it's really, really too vibrant for the sky. So if I want to mix the perfect sky color, I mix ultramarine and manganese blue hue, and they make a really good match with most skies that I come across, blue skies. But indigo is a really good one for just dropping in. So that's how I get my shadows and my darks. Yeah, I hope that helps.
Wow, thank you. Wow.
Yeah, I do this same technique using burnt sienna and whatever blues, whether warm or cool, to create the right temperature of your darks, and just experiment.
Yeah, so, and there's a Daniel Smith color called Jane's Gray, and it's actually a mix. It's these two mixed, nothing else, and it's perfect. And I have it in one of my palettes, and I use it all the time. And it's you know, you can mix it yourself, but also it's convenient just to have it in your palette. Jane's Gray.
Great. we're gonna go Deborah and then Valerie and Karen.
Oh, I just had a question.
Oh, sure.
Do you have a brand of the French ultramarine that you find doesn't granulate as much as some of the other brands?
Oh, good question. So, okay, I did an experiment and then I'll let Bethan or Deborah also, anybody answer, but I was curious about French versus just regular ultramarine too. And I couldn't tell a difference between the granulation and why there's one over the other. So I just used French because that's what I had left. I've only used Daniel Smith. Anyone else compare? I find it Daniel Smith to be moderately granulating, but not super granulating. Who else has used different brands of ultramarines?
I'm going to have to look out in my box and see how many different brands I have
Okay.
in comparison for next
That
time.
would be cool to see, because granulation for when you're creating your skies and especially the clouds with your burnt sienna or a red, the granulation just makes gorgeous clouds. Oh my goodness, does it make gorgeous clouds?
Yeah,
I've used Windsor and Newton ultramarine, and it's comparable to Daniel Smith. I wouldn't say that you'd notice a great difference.
Okay. All right. So, Karen, are you going to do a Skyscapito? Okay. So Deborah will go next, and then Karen.
Okay.
And I'm adding. Okay, I'm going to unspotlight there. That way, Deborah, we can see whatever you're doing. Bigified you.
There we go. This is what I think I did this before we decided we were going to have this group. And so but I had gone to both workshops, both Bethan's and Roseann's. They were wonderful. Oh, I have to start by saying, is anybody else a beginner here?
well, a beginner in clouds or?
Well, beginner period, I guess. I just started late February doing nature journaling. So I figure I'm at the kindergarten level, striving for first grade. And so I have taken lots and lots of workshops now. And so the reason that I actually went this day was so that I could see the pelicans. And in any regard, that this is what I came up with. Now, this is a marine layer, and this is an ocean, and I did use the French ultramarine in this. I used it a lot, but the main thing that I wanted to say is the pictures that you've seen today are spectacular, but I want to encourage everybody to go, if you're not at that level yet, keep trying, and I'm going to keep trying, and we can share with each other on this class. Whoops, not class, but workshop. I guess you really don't need to see the picture. Probably don't really need to see the pictures that I had.
I think it's interesting to see the pictures because you don't have to copy exactly what you see. I think that's something with watercolor, especially, or any kind of sketching. It's totally permissible to edit and just pick what you like.
Right. Well, this actually happens to be a video, and so
wow.
you can see where my land was, and these pelicans, when they fly, their faces, their beaks are pointed down. I don't even know how they can do it. So that was my little Skyscapito that I shared with you there. And then I did, I'm going to show you this. This is a place to take risks because this was something that wasn't too successful, and I thought I would share it, even though it wasn't. The top one here, I tried a and I live where we don't have many clouds, the cumulus, and mostly what we have is fog and stratus clouds. And so what I wanted to do is to take or to do a journal page about what is outside my window. And so this was a day that when the cloud was raising, and then by noon, or actually 10:30, some of the blue started coming in. But I had joked on Facebook, I would just have a plain gray square and a plain blue square. But really, I was amazed when I looked at the sky, how these little patches of blue were coming clouds. And here I was thinking, oh, it's just gray skies. I also used a pen, a fountain pen for the first time, and it had ink in it that
Deborah, your internet is going unstable, so we lost your audio again.
Oh, so sorry.
Yeah. Maybe you could put in the chat when you close this. Put in your chat
why
what
don't
happened.
Yeah. Okay. I was done anyhow, so we can go on to somebody else.
Okay. Yeah, I've got a big red mark on your internet is showing as like bad. So sorry.
Deb, I wanted to say, Deb, I love how you do the north-south orientation on your Skyscapitos. I love that. It's really cool.
Oh, thank you.
And great. I mean, you after you asked the question about beginners, that a lot of people are beginners, and I love the encouragement you gave just to try it, just to go, just to
go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really important. Thank you for sharing that.
Okay, so Karen, I'm going to spotlight you. There we go. Yay, thank you.
Hi. So our local weather station had the weather report one day, and they showed a viewer photo that was so neat, clouds that I had never seen before. So I thought, well, I have to try and paint that. And I actually tagged Bethan on the Facebook page, but they are called jellyfish clouds. I had never ever heard of these before. Picture must have been taken somewhere in Washington State, where I live. And so I just thought I have to paint those. And so I just, did the wash, and then took a crushed up paper towel and tried to dab them out and make these jellyfish. So I thought that was just so fun. I have the viewer photo. I don't know if you can, no, you can't really see it. Anyway, it was just so fun. I had never heard of that. I tried another one also, which was one that I saw on our vacation, and it's not very good, but there were like hooks that were hooking back on the clouds underneath. And so it was just really, really interesting. And I tried to use the paper towel also there. I don't know if there's a better technique to do those hooks, but that was my
I like the different blues, the quality of it. What blue did you use? It looks like a French.
I was using ultramarine, and I think I put in a little bit of the phthalo blue because I just really like how it's just so brilliant.
You're brave. I think let's all clap, because phthalo is, you put phthalo down and it stays forever. I'm afraid of it. It's like
exactly. I used it very, very sparingly. So anyway, thanks for letting me share that.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, let's see. I'm going, Bethan, can you help me, can you figure out how to turn off Karen's raise hand?
Okay, yeah.
And so you guys so when we do the raise hand, it just sort of pops up on our screens here. So I'm just going to go in the order that you're popping up. So I have no idea what particular order it is. So do you say, is it Maeve? How do you say your name?
Maeve.
Oh, Maeve. Beautiful name. Okay, here we go.
Okay, so I'm one of those new to the program here, and I wasn't able to take the Skyscapito Bethan's program because I was on vacation and got back a couple days ago and had signed up for this. So I thought, oh, I better get going. So I tried to do, and I couldn't even finish it because I'm so slow. But we were talking earlier about the wax crayon. Oh, where's my finger? There it is. Okay. I tried the wax crayon on this, and I don't know how many have seen Bethan's Wild Wonder Conference. And Bethan, you might remember that these are supposed to be cirrus clouds.
Yeah. They look great.
Well,
do you feel good about what you achieved?
Well, I think I would like to try like a pencil or something, because I felt like they were just all flat. And I don't know, how do you do that when you can't see what you're drawing?
Yeah, it's kind of tricky. That is a tricky thing. And it is a bit of like letting go and seeing what happens. I feel like that's part of Skyscapes, is just letting go and seeing what happens. So maybe that's just part of a lesson. I don't know.
Well, and a funny thing to go along with this is my sisters are helping me get started, and we've been working with gouache, and I started off not realizing I had the gouache. And so it took me a while to get with it and get the right program. But I have one more thing I'd like to share. I decided I should try something on my own. So on our vacation, I had taken this picture. Let's see, it may not work any better. Oh, there. Of clouds. Okay, not realizing what I was getting into, but this is my rendition of it.
Wow.
There.
Right.
Nice. Really nice.
So the other thing I was struggling with, and as you saw, I didn't finish all of Bethan's, so maybe it would come up later, but I was trying to use the white gouache, since I had it handy, for the highlights, but I couldn't get it to show up. So,
were you using a pan of it or a tube?
It was actually the Jack's palette, the white gouache.
Yeah.
The Jack's palette.
I find it could be, and I don't know, but I find if it's in a pan, I have it in mine as well. But when it's like this, it can be hard to make it strong enough. And so if I'm using it to make highlights, I generally get it straight out of a tube, and that helps it show up strong enough to add a highlight.
Well, I didn't know it was available in a pen.
In a tube, like a
tube.
Yeah, like.
Oh wait, because I saw you were taking your tube and you were dabbing it like this.
Mm-hmm.
Ah.
So that's how I get it to be strong enough. And I must admit, I'm not a gouache person. I haven't experimented a lot with gouache, but I just for this purpose, I use it straight out of the tube. And I have seen other artists, when they're doing gouache, they just use it as if it was oil paint, and they just put it straight on the palette like that, and then they wash it off. So people do sell palettes of gouache, and I think they're not quite as effective, and if you do it from a pan as if you do it straight from the tube. I don't know, because I'm not a gouache person, but that's my experience, is how I get it to be really good at
I agree with Bethan that I don't even use a pan. I just keep the tube. Works much better. Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. I love to see how everybody's doing that. So Heather, I'm going to spotlight Heather next. Let's see, add spotlight. Move. Great.
Hi, I'm in North County, San Diego, and I'm one of the sisters of which Maeve spoke, but I call her Misa. That's the name that I could pronounce when she was born, so that's what I've called her all my life. I am to the pencil born. I love pencil. The work I do is almost always pencil, colored pencil, aqua pencil. And when it comes to paint, I like gouache. So the mediums I'm used to are mediums that like to be worked with. And I take some other watercolor classes, and I've noticed that everybody says the same thing. Bethan said it. Watercolor likes to do what watercolor likes to do. And one of the hardest things for me is to understand when to stop interfering with the watercolor. A couple other things, when I was taking doing Bethan's skyscapes. I need to, well, just put in the paint miles with watercolor, but how wet do I want the paper? I discovered that my paper would be too wet, not wet enough. The other thing that I was struggling with was the water to pigment ratio. But those are things that I think just, you know, that's as a person who's not experienced watercolor, you're going to pick that up over time. Oh, and as far as the masking fluid, I just wanted to show Bethan that you can pull that masking fluid up really easily with these old rubber cement pickups. I don't know if
I haven't seen those. That's a great idea.
Probably old enough to remember the days of the mechanicals when you put everything down with rubber cement, and that's how you cleaned up the rubber cement. But here was my attempt at Bethan's, and my cumulus fractus lacked very much fractus, but
I love that. Oh my gosh, it just makes me so happy to see all these all these little skyscapes. Wow,
beautiful.
You've done beautifully. How exciting.
This one caused so much fear in me that I just didn't finish it. And you know, I hate to admit that I was defeated by fear, because normally mediums don't scare me, but this medium, it's so new, and at my age, it's like, wait, I am an expert in all these other mediums. This is just not fair. So I had fun doing it, and as I said, there's a number of them where I need to learn how and when to stop interfering with what watercolor want to do. This was the clear wax resist crayon. I used it because the cirrus clouds did have thick patches, and so I wanted to make sure that I was able to get that. But as you can see, I think this is another one where I interfered with it too much, because I should really have ended up with white with that resist. But I do remember when I did this, I didn't like what happened with, I used a pencil resist at first, so I lifted all the paint off, and then I went back in with the crayon. And I think by that time I'd already gotten blue on the paper. The paint I used was Daniel Smith, and I used the ultramarine and the cerulean for the sky. For the peach at the bottom, I used a, what did I use? Permanent Rose, that's a Winsor Newton, I think, and a yellow ochre. That's what I happen to have on hand. I think that the ultramarine with the Daniel Smith is really granular. It's either granular or I don't know what I'm doing. So
those are, I love that. I just want to keep highlighting a couple things that Heather said. Well, first of all, don't be hard on yourself. You're brave, and this is so much fun. And the more you do, the more you will learn. As you know, the media, it's like a language. You just have to keep doing it. Overcooking watercolor is our biggest problem, because it really loves to lay on the paper the way it goes down. And if you start moving it around or adding too much onto it, it gets super mucky, muddy, and you get funky little echoes and runs, and so yeah, I totally hear you on the fear. It's like no, I don't want to touch it. I might mess it up. But overcooking is my big thing. So why in my book I published a big stop sign that says, you know, like, cut this out and put it on your desk. Stop. You know, don't overwork it. That's like the big one. Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you so much.
I wonder if I could just say a couple of things on that. I think you're doing it amazing. You are a natural. It looks beautiful to me, but I do understand that feeling of, what is this paint doing? It's doing its own thing, and that can be kind of weird when you're used to media that stays where you put it. But water control is one huge aspect of a watercolor, and it's the main aspect, and it can take some time to get used to. And one thing that might help in this respect is that, so there's an artist called Jane Blundell, and she teaches this really cool technique, which is that you try to practice mixing up different strengths and understanding different pigment to water ratios. And she talks about trying to mix, and you can do it with one color just as a practice. Try and mix something that's the consistency of cream, milk, coffee, tea, and weak tea. And I've got this book, and this is a book that I use just for color mixing. So I've got like gazillions of color mixing charts and experiments. But this is what I'm meaning. So if you mix something that's cream, it'll come out like this. And then milk, you're adding a bit more water, and you're thinking about like the consistency of these substances. So coffee, tea, and weak tea. And if you think about that, you'll be able to understand more about the water to paint ratio and how that's going to play out on your page. So maybe that's something fun to experiment with and think about. Thank you so much for sharing. That was really, really cool to see.
I looked her up after I watched your Skyscapito, so yeah.
Great.
Yeah, Jane Blundell is a master colorist. Okay, let's move to let's see. Corina, I think you were popped up there. I'm just kind of going with who's popping up. So
hi, Karina.
Hi.
Karina was our amazing Facebook superstar for International Nature Journaling Week. She did so much work. I'm so happy to see you.
I'm so happy to be here. I'm really excited. I haven't seen the Wild Wonder Skyscapito workshop yet, but I've bought the video pass, and someone put the link in the chat for how to buy that, which is nice. Yes, thank you. I'm really excited about it, but I'm getting so many ideas here. And now I feel weird about following Heather because I have this crappy little painting I'm going to show you. So I live on the North Shore of Lake Ontario in southern Canada, and we get fantastic sunsets, like spectacular. And I'm so lucky. So I'm just going to show you one that I captured because I like Skyscapitos is something I like doing, and it didn't actually look exactly like this, but I didn't care. Like, I wanted to capture the color and the feeling, so I was just practicing. But I really want to use all these watercolor techniques that everyone's sharing today. I think you're right that the more you just get used to laying down the washes and practicing the techniques, then when you're inspired to run out and try to capture the sunset from my window, it will be less frustrating because I'll have that practice behind me to help make it a little more successful. So for all those newbies out there, feel better. They don't have to be beautiful. It's just about capturing the moment. Yeah, thank you. This is so fun, you guys. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Hey, that was fun. And the other thing I wanted to mention, notice how many people do your swatches. So when you mix your colors, add your swatches and label them so that you remember what the heck you did to get those colors. And I love to capture those colors. Sometimes all you can do is capture the colors really quickly before they fade, right? So Amy asked if she could go next because she's losing her light. She doesn't have an electric light and her sun is setting. So Amy's next.
Hi, sorry. Oh,
no.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm just getting darker and darker, and I did want to share because I did the Skyscapitos by video because I think I was asleep when it was actually happening. But you might not be able to see it because the light is so bad.
Looks good.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, seeing that. Wow, you've got the
And it
real
was
drama in the.
so good. I really, really, really love this, and I can't wait to do. I know Roseann did a workshop on skies on her blog, and I can't wait to check that one out. So, thank you.
That was
So
beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. You got some real drama in those clouds. I love it. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that the drama was wonderful. And yeah, Amy mentioned I did Bethan did the full-on skies workshop, and I did one more on meteorology, weather, and less about doing the actual skies and more about how to read the sky. So that it's a nice combination. So
absolutely. I highly recommend it. It was great fun and so interesting. And the two together, you're right, they're a great match.
Fun, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do Paula next.
Okay, can you hear me? I have too much technology going on right here. I did not take the class yet, which I will do on recorded video, but this is something I did. It's a bookmark. It's left over from a big card that I made. And then the card was too long to fit in the envelope, so I cut it off and I automatically had a bookmark. It's really not good paper. And I worked it and worked it and worked it because I only have a few blues and I didn't know what I was doing. And one of the things I was trying to do was make the beach, the ocean water look different from the clouds. And now that I know all these things, especially about how to make peach, the different ways that you all talked about to make peach, I'm so excited. I usually use colored pencil. And so I have like 3 or 4 different layers of colored pencil, and I sit looking out my window and trying to figure out exactly what color that is. And of course, when it's sunset, it's also dark. So I'm trying to color this in the dark and get the exact color, which is difficult, but next time I will have a bigger set of Skyscapitos, I hope.
I actually really like the idea of doing the strip, the bookmark style, because then you're doing a slice of sky plus the land. I really liked that. Great idea.
Right.
Also,
and I need something at
really,
the bottom. I might just cut it off.
You captured the color of the sea beautifully in contrast with the color of the sky. I love that.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Jan Schwartz next. Woo-hoo.
Hi, I have a question. So I live in Tucson and we're in monsoon season and the sky is just, it's so fascinating and it changes so quickly. So if you don't take a picture, you lost it. And I didn't have my phone at the time, so I did this from memory. But my question is, and this is when it was just starting to roll over the Catalina Mountains. And it was really dark at the bottom, but how do you, first of all, I should not have used ink to outline the mountains, but that aside, how do you bring the clouds down? You know, this was so faded in the background because the clouds started coming down the mountain.
Oh, yeah.
Super, super muted. And I tried to bring some, I just lost it. But anyway, that's my question. It was rolling over top of the mountain down onto our side, the south side of the
yes. I think I know what you mean. Let me see, and Bethan, if anybody else wants to chime in. So what you want to do is probably you would when you do your mountains, you would do them maybe just even outline them in pencil and push them super far back and don't even put a lot of color on them yet. And you're going to actually, your clouds are going to come over the the mountain that way. So by drawing the mountain first was probably what stopped you from being able to bring the clouds down. They were too bold already. So you could try, if you hadn't done the ink, you could have tried wetting them and lifting the paint with a tissue. If your watercolor is lifting watercolor. If it's staining, nope, the Catalinas are there forever.
They are on this page anyway.
But just try practicing this same scene over and over. Bethan, I was trying to look for an example of where I did that.
Yeah, I think practicing the scene is a great idea, and practicing it with different skies, you're going to learn so much about one. Like I was saying about just looking at the end of my street again and again and again, you're going to learn so much. But with this particular instance, I think you mean that that the clouds are coming really low down, close to the ground. And I think that would change like the atmospheric perspective. And so atmospheric perspective is where the colors that are close to you are really warm and strong. And as you go into the distance, so mountains in the far distance are going to be cool and faint. So I think that Roseann's right in saying that you need to go really easy on the color on the mountains first, and just be really observant about atmospheric perspective and how that changes the warmth and the strength of the color.
Would you recommend a slightly cooler blues for the mountains, even though they are not actually in what you see isn't going to be that? You've got to trick the eye. Yeah, it's tricky. I think you just have to take color notes and go slowly and build up in layers. And it's tricky without seeing the photo itself, but I think that just be observant that the clouds overlaying over the mountains is going to change the color of the mountain. And maybe it just comes to a point where the base of the clouds are, and then below that the mountain is going to look like starkly different from where the clouds are covering it. That's a really interesting question and a tricky one to navigate, but you did beautifully. That's a really good thing to think about.
You can also fade out the top of the mountain by not painting it, similarly to how you would treat painting layers of fog in between the different layers of the hills of the mountains. So when you came to the top of the mountain, rather than having it dark at all, just use more water in your color so that it fades out. And also you can take your brush and dry it off and wipe out some of the color in different areas that you want the cloud to come down over it.
You can also use a very fine mister, little squirt bottle, and that will let dangling your paper, and that will let the cloud drop down as well.
I'm sorry, was that, did you say mister?
Yeah, just a misting spray bottle.
I find the mister sprays too, what am I trying to say, in too far a radius.
Right.
You can't control it as much as you can control the end of your brush by drying it off and wiping it out. You have way more control. The mister spreads out too much and can hit areas that you don't want, and it's going to disrupt the surface of the paint and it'll show.
Yeah, one trick for that I learned from, I think it was John Lovett, for the mister idea, you can use some scrap watercolor paper and cut a mask really quickly. You just, or rip a piece of paper to cover what you don't want the spritzer on.
Good idea.
And then boom, you've got that. So he's always got scrap paper laying around. So.
And then there's also like different brands. Holbein makes a real small, real fine mister that you can hold close. So that
I use the little tiny. So I mean, it's barely a little spit. It's not a huge blah. Well, great, Susan. So you're up next to share your Skyscapito.
So I found, first of all, I find doing a Skyscapito, a tiny little one, very challenging because the smaller you get, the harder it is to get the detail in there. So I haven't done a whole lot of little skyscapitos. I have done other skies that I didn't take a picture of because I was too busy painting. I was sitting in my vehicle and I was painting what I saw in front of me. And I did this one in a small sketchbook. And what was striking about that was that the way that the sun rays were coming down, it was like they were just spotted clouds of stratus. I think you might call them flocus, maybe a bit stratus flocus. But the way that the light was just coming through the clouds was so striking that I had to paint it. This sketchbook is 5.5 inches square, and I did a double page spread. And this was resting on my steering wheel while I was painting it. And I didn't have time to take my phone out and snap a picture of it.
Sure. Which did you do first? How did you pull the streaks?
So I just splotted in as a watercolorist, I've learned to not paint what I want white and to paint around it, which is what I did. So I just put in some blues and I had a softened edge on those blues to emulate the edges of the clouds. And then I took a wet, clean paintbrush and did all the stripes coming down through the blue sky, through the cloud.
Nice, nice. Do you remember what blue that is?
It was a cerulean blue.
Nice.
It might not show up through the monitors and stuff. I don't know.
Nice. That's wonderful. I love that, seeing that.
I need to practice a little one. And I didn't know you guys were all working from photos. That would have really helped.
I think, it just depends on what's going on. Like, when you snap the photo, like mine, we were driving, so it was going to go away within seconds if I didn't take the photo.
And so was this, and I didn't have time. I didn't think about the photo. I had my sketchbook in front of me.
Awesome.
So I just went for it, and it was done very, very quickly as well. And with the Skyscapitos, what I was interested, I love miniature things, and I'm really surprised at how much detail everybody's getting in those little itty bitty squares.
Yeah, it's fun.
That is going to be my challenge moving forward. I basically just set up my palette of water sky colors, as you call them, and I'm looking forward to trying some smaller ones, and I've ordered some skinny tape and stuff like that. I live in a remote area. There's no art store or anything like that here. So I have to wait for things to arrive.
Oh, great. Oh, you know what would be fun is maybe the next meeting we could do, like, share our palettes, like, because I was inspired by Bethan I created a little miniature sky kit. It's just kind of this, and now I'm all in love with it. So
well, I did this little one. This is the one that I just set up.
Yeah.
And it's actually still drying.
Oh yeah.
Like
we should share that. Maybe that would be our next one.
Try not to stick my finger in it while I'm holding it up.
Let's do Danny and then Jen and Cindy. So Danny, let's see. Spotlight.
Hello. So I just wanted to show a couple of things, and of course now the dogs are acting up. I like to use this notebook that it's 52-gram Tomeo River paper. So it's very thin and very crunchy. And when you paint on it, the paint stays on the surface a bit and you just shove it around. And that takes a long time to dry. So this is, I like to go, we park at the ocean quite a bit, and different weather things coming in and these clouds coming down. And this is with Jane's gray, I'm pretty sure. And also, you know, using pencil to lay out the cloud formations, and then kind of shove the paint around a bit.
Nice,
And,
I like that.
Yeah, yeah, me too. And where we live, you know, we have pretty big skies, and a lot of times the sky is very almost white with just a little bit of, you know, sky coming through. And so this is on hot press. It was very wet on wet hot press.
Yeah, that's something we didn't mention that's worth mentioning for the really newbies is, and on mine I did this too, is when I wanted this to happen, I washed my paper first with clear water to make sure that I didn't get a lot of super hard edges when I didn't want hard edges, because the pigment goes where the water is.
Yeah, and this one, I grabbed this piece of paper which was already gridded out. I didn't really want the grid, but we had this beautiful, you know, puffy sky, and this is a cold press, so this is again wet on wet, but with a lot more time to dink around with the pigment than on the hot press. The hot press doesn't give you super long, so this you have a long time, this you have some time, and this you have forever to just push pigment everywhere, anywhere you want.
That's awesome.
And then you had mentioned, you know, the stripes. This is my last one, but just, you know, painting that section of what you see, and then just, you know, pushing the pigment around is super fun for me.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
that's
so
really cool.
Well, thank you.
Can you put the name of that paper, your notebook, in the chat, please? And
yeah, I will, because I'm sure
I'm
sure I'm butchering how you say it. Yes, I will put it in. It's a Japanese paper. It's I mean, as you can tell, it's very thin. It's not made for water. But boy, you can put down a heavy layer of paint. And this is the back side of that sheet. So it doesn't come through, and you can use it with ink and watercolor. The only thing that really kind of does come through is something solvent based. So that will soak through. So I will put that in the chat, because it's just super fun.
The chat, everybody, I'll be sure to save the chat and put it on the website too, because there's tons of great information in the chat. So fabulous. Thank you, Danny. Okay, Jen, let's see. Let me spotlight you. There we go.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jen, and I'm normally in Washington, but right now I'm in Montana. And since I've been here, I've been doing this thing that I call chasing the dawn. So I wake up in the morning, I stumble around at night, I stumble around in the morning, I grab my watercolors, and I just look out the window and I try to see what is going on with the sky. So sometimes a certain cloud will just kind of pique my interest, and then I'll sit there and try to capture like when the light is hitting the underside of the clouds or something like that. But basically, I just like wake up every morning and then I look out there and I just really quickly, and it changes so quickly, I really try to capture what I see out there. So that I have all these different things.
Oh, that's
it's
so
whatever I can pick up. And
wow.
You know, and like talking about strips, like here is like a little strip. Like if it changed from like a few minutes ago to like, you know, the sun kind of comes up a little bit more, and then I'll just do like a little strip of what it's doing at that time and then note the time. So that's what I've been doing since I've been here.
Fantastic ideas. I love this sharing. This is so great. That dark is lovely. You got the gradation, very beautiful on that too.
Oh, and can I just mention something? Somebody was saying that they couldn't see like when they were doing sunsets. So when I'm doing dawn scenes, you know, I'm sitting there in the dark. So I have this light. It's called the Lamborghini light or something like that. And you just clip it onto your sketchbook. And, you know, you can illuminate your palette and your sketchbook at the same time.
What brilliant. Oh my gosh. Fantastic. Thank you.
Or inspiring. That book, you know, I'm so happy to see you. I'm so happy to see your book. It's amazing. I love that you're dedicated to get up in the morning and do that and capture it in such a joyful way. And I love the gradient with the beside the little skyscape, you've got the gradient. It looks so cool. And I think you're a color lover like me.
Yeah, I really am. Fantastic. So let's see, we have Cindy, Karina. I think Karina, I think you already went, and I forgot to lower your hand. So, and I don't remember how long we said we were going to go, but I think we'll need to wrap up soon. We've been losing a lot of people. It's dinner time. So maybe just a couple more. Let's see, Cindy, Spotlight.
Yes, we're going from I hate to follow Jen. Those were absolutely beautiful. But we're going from the sacred to the profane here.
No, not allowed.
I am new to Skyscapes, so this is my first effort. We have beautiful skies here in Texas a lot of the times, and I don't know if y'all can see this. Can you see that?
Oh my gosh!
Oh my
that
gosh.
is my very best friend is a national park ranger, and she is in Apostle Islands on Lake Superior right now, and she sent me that picture. So my question is, if I want to draw that, where do I start? Do I start with mixing the colors that I see? What do I do first? I tried it on fabric because I'm a textile artist.
Hey, and that's great.
This is actually on muslin with ink tints and fabric medium, but I don't know where to start with watercolor, so help.
Well, Roseann, do you want to answer that, or do you want me to have a stab at it?
You have a stab, but we need to, can you hold that up and we can all just sort of chip in. So hold up the picture again, I think is helpful. So I mean, I would start with a quick pencil sketch to just get your horizon and make sure you reserve those things, because those are the last things you're going to paint are the darks. You won't do those first. And then you would, so many warm and cool colors. So that's the big challenge, right? So those yellows, I would probably be tempted to get in first. Yeah. What would you do first?
Yeah, this is interesting. Such a challenging thing to do, and you already did it beautifully. But if I was to do it, what I would do is put in some lines for the divisions. And the thing with yellows and blues is if they mix green, and you don't want green in your sky. Yeah. So what I would do, mix up, this is one thing about skies that I think is really important. Mix all your colors first, plan it out, and on a second piece of paper, do some swatches, make sure you've got all your different colors, and you would have at least 5 colors there that you would want a big puddle of to start off. Put in your lines to say, this is the yellow part, and we don't want the yellow part mixing necessarily with the rest of it because you're going to mix green. So have them all laid out, and then do washes of the yellow section and then the top section. And even with watercolor, what you want to do is layer them on. So I can see right up the top, there's a dark strip, and then there's overlaying that is a lighter sort of purpley strip. And so what you want to do is wash that whole thing with the lightest color in that section. And then you can layer again the darks over that, leaving the bit that's already tinted with pink or purple. And then that will build up the top section, and the bottom section you want to do separately and just blend them with water in the middle to mix that orange. But you don't want those two sections touching each other necessarily, or you're going to get green. So it just will take a little planning, but it's a stunning photo and a huge challenge to tackle. But
that's a super difficult one. Yeah, you picked a really hard one, but just keep, like she says, plan it out, but then do a bunch of wet runs, right? Just splash some stuff out there and see what happens. See what happens if you meet your yellow and blue. You'll see that green and it'll be like black.
I've got green. I got
there,
green.
Yeah. So that's what learning is all about. You just have to, that's what I was trying to say before. You just have to go for it. It's scary and it's hard, and you're going to end up with some stuff that's like, ooh. But also you're going to end up with beauty, and everything is beautiful that you do. So
I think what you already did on that fabric looks fabulous. You've punched out all the really strong colors. I think it looks great.
Fantastic.
Well, thank you. Working with fabric, it's hard because the fibers absorb the wet and then they bleed. Yeah.
And then the pigment goes into the fibers, so it goes places you weren't expecting.
Exactly. A whole different set of challenges.
Yeah,
Thank
exactly.
You.
So you're painting on fabric, you're painting in like 4 dimensions. So we'll do Valerie, and then I think we need to wrap up. Let's see, Valerie Hayes, yay.
Okay, so I have been doing some tests for what works as a resist. And I found that I thought would be good that were pretty much flops, and a couple of things that I think work really well. So my top 2 choices for cloud-like resist things would be Mungyo oil pastel. Oh, it's reversing it. Mungyo white oil pastel. It's
you put the pastel down first and then painted that looks like ultramarine over it.
I did. You could probably also use it over the ultramarine because it's a white oil pastel, and it's a Korean brand. It's pretty affordable if you don't want to fork out for the overpriced Sennelier. That's a good choice. That one worked pretty well, and it doesn't have that sort of crude, cruddy feel of a clear Crayola crayon type thing that I also have. I didn't test. My other top one was a Caran d'Ache white luminance pencil.
Nice. Ooh, that made the Cirrus really nicely.
That was the best white colored pencil. It's also the most expensive white colored pencil. I think they're like $4 a pop. But if you're just doing clouds and you just want to buy one, that's good. The other colored pencils, I tried Prismacolor, white and colorless. Prismacolor, very thin. That's these. They're pretty faint. Things that worked really well for fine lines are Jelly Roll Glaze or Jelly Roll white pens. And the thing that I thought was going to work really well that didn't was a Copic opaque white. It looks like a little bottle of whiteout. It took a while to dry, and I thought it was dry. Maybe it wasn't totally dry. And then when I put the watercolor over it, it just mixed with the watercolor and turned.
Oh, interesting. Wow. It released.
I tried a few different brands of colorless blender. So Kohinoor and Derwent were not that great. Of the colorless blenders, the Caran d'Ache was again the top one for being a resist. That one, it looks different than the others. It's more like a crayon than a pencil.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a hard one. I seem to have misplaced it, but then Sakura Quickie Glue makes nice fine lines, and the Lyra Splendor Blender and Faber-Castell White Polychromos were also pretty faint. And my added caution is if you're using a blending pencil, clean it off first, because otherwise clearing whatever color you blended last all over your sky.
Yep. Been there, done
I
that.
want to say, Valerie, this is what it's all about, testing and seeing what works and experimenting with different media. Super cool what you did, and thank you for sharing that.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
The Caran d'Ache white pencil, I think it was, that you showed early on. Do you have to push hard enough with that it would flatten the tooth of the watercolor paper?
It's a relatively soft pencil.
Okay.
So I didn't press very hard with it. This is what it looks like. And if you're really worried about that, then I would go with the oil pastel, which worked great. And you just have to be very gentle with it so you don't break the oil pastel. And I would imagine if you're out in extremely hot weather, that might not be great for the oil pastel.
Yeah, I meant to mention that earlier for those who are really new at watercolor. When people are talking about the kinds of wetness they use and drying and things, remember your climate is going to cause a completely different experience. In the desert Southwest in June, I can put down a wash and it'll be dry in approximately 3 seconds because we have like 0% humidity. Right now we're at 78% humidity. So it's taking me forever and I'm very impatient. So just remember that if you're starting out, that just because the person who like you're taking a class from says this is how it's going to be, remember to check your own weather and keep that in mind. If you bake bread, you'll know that the amount of flour you add to your bread recipe changes depending on your relative humidity. So it's the same thing with watercolor and how you're going to behave. So
has anyone tried making their own cyanometers? Is that something maybe next time we could talk about? It's harder than you would think to get the step.
Let's do a cyanometer. Okay, so we'll write these down. We're going to do cyanometer one. Let's do a palette one. If you don't know, I mean, I know this is sort of cheating, but it's kind of fun. There's an app called the Cyanometer app, which is kind of fun.
I kind of thought it was so old school. I wanted to make an old school.
Me too. I'm totally with you. So let's do a cyanometer
exercise to be able to try to do the different steps.
I agree. That would be fun. So yes, let's see. Susan, and then Carol's had her hand up. We've only got like 1 minute. I know people need to go. So Susan had a question.
This is a real quick one. I just did this in cerulean blue.
Let me spotlight it. Hold on. Okay.
And while it was wet, wait a minute, where's my camera? I used my palette knife and scraped it off.
Interesting. That's another way to do that.
I was trying to do the cirrus cloud. So while it was still wet, this is my tiny little, I love it for my watercolor. I have actually painted paintings with my palette knife and watercolor.
Sweet. Oh, nice.
So if you can also scrape the color out.
If you're with a good heavy paper would be necessary. So
this is B paper. This is 140 pound B paper.
I like B paper.
Yeah, I know. I can't get the 90 pound here.
They're not making it anymore, as far as I can tell.
I know, and I've got a big stash of the 140 pound in case it disappears.
Me too. Okay, Carol, and then we're gonna have to get going. So let's see.
Okay, just really quick. I'm making a small book. I haven't gotten the cover, but I put the colors of paint and then the skies and the date and time.
That looks beautiful.
And if you can see, just it's the size of my hand. So.
Oh, I love that. I did that. Accordion style is lovely. That's a great idea for doing a series.
So I'll have a front cover and a back cover.
Oh, fun idea.
That's absolutely delightful. That would be so nice for a week of skies in a little accordion book like that, all in a row. That's beautiful. Thank you, Carol.
Wonderful. So we had some people asking, like, when are we going to meet again? We're going to have to figure that out. We might need to move our times around a little bit. We've had some people in Europe say, no, 4 o'clock is too late. So we'll have to just sort of move around the globe, I guess. So, and then we have some good ideas. I wrote down palette sharing and cyanometers. Okay, fun. And so email us, ideas and things. And I'm actually working on, I know we've got, a lot of people don't really like Facebook anymore. And so we're actually looking into like a forum on our website that is just for, field arts and things like this. So maybe we end up with a way we can share and talk that's not Facebook. I'm getting some pushback on Facebook.
Yeah.
Somebody suggested color mixing early on today.
Mm-hmm. Too. Okay, color mixing.
I just want to say that it is so amazing that this many people came together to have an hour and a half chat about skies, and we could just go on and on, I think, and we have to wrap up because of time, but it's so wonderful. And Jin in the chat said, I feel like I've found my sky people, and I feel the same way.
And I'm finding too lately that I'm paying attention more to skies. I'm totally obsessed right now. And it's so much fun. And I'm driving my husband crazy. He's like teasing me all the time. He's like, what kind of clouds?
I have trouble because when I'm driving, I'm also sky gazing, which is really dangerous. And a couple of times I've been like, whoa, no, just concentrate and drive. Don't look at the sky.
Hey, look at Danny's. Here, I'm going to spotlight you, Danny. I got mine too.
Oh, neat.
I'm a total nerd too. Okay, I'm going to wear my pin. I'm going to wear my pin next time. I forgot to. We need to do our own pin, the Skyscapito.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
So good.
Well, I learned so much. I am so excited.
Really? I'm going to put the recording up so you guys will get an email, because I need to go back. There were so many cool ideas I want to kind of write down. A lot of ideas that I want to adopt. I love the idea of the strips, and imagine doing like just pre-draw like 5 strips and then do, every 15 minutes dawn.
Oh, wow.
So fun.
I love what Karina said about sort of just practicing to the point where you have it down in your body memory, and then when you are doing it from life, you can just quickly get it down, and it comes out of you because you've done it so many times. And that can be one fun way of when you're practicing on if you are working from photos. That can be part of gathering the body memory, and then when you're doing it from life, you can it will come out of you just in a natural flow. I love that. That's what I was thinking.
Jen was asking if it looks like Miriam went off the call, so we can ask her about smoke and clouds. And yes, wildfires do affect cloud forming. So we can do a whole session on that. So, okay, everybody, I need to go make dinner too. So, and Bethan needs to make breakfast. So
thank you, everyone. It was amazing. So much fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Deborah and Bethan.
Bye.